Already a very, very, very happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is Monday, June the 1st. There we go. I hope everyone had themselves a good weekend. I know I did. It's been was it a great weekend if you are a Reds fan? But we'll talk about that. It seems like one thing after another, and boy, it's how do you honestly come across a difficult series that we did against the Atlanta Braves. We'll talk about that in our episode. We'll have some football conversations for you. Take a look at what's going on with the Reds farm system as we took a look at what's going down on the farm. We'll also take a look at WWE as the King and Queen of the Ring tournament begins tonight on Raw. Actually, Raw has a special early time set for 2 p.m. as they are still in Italy. So we'll get you guys ready for Raw. But we are on the lookout today. And when I say we are on the lookout, yesterday, Ellie Dela Cruz was removed from the game after hitting a single. I want to say it was a fifth inning, and he was rounding first when he kind of stopped because of a hamstring issue. Now, according to Terry Francona, according to reporters at the moment, it's just a hamstring stiffness. And we hope that that's all it is. According to Terry Francona last night, he said that Ellie Dela Cruz kind of felt something happening in his hamstring and prays that we caught it in time before any tear officially takes underway. It's a big blow, and we'll have the conversation a little bit deeper. But today, we are looking for results. He had an MRI at 9 o'clock this morning. So, as we are going to continue to refresh our page as we look to deal with Ellie Dela Cruz's injury and see how the Reds are going to respond to that. Before we do that, let's go ahead and dive right into yesterday's PLE for the WWE Clash in Italy. A lot of anticipated moments, matches, I think were highly at stake. And I had a lot of investment or, interest going into this PLE. And I'm going to tell you this, I was not disappointed. Now, I do have one question. How hot was it in Italy yesterday? And I say that because not even within a minute of anybody in a in-ring match, they were already drenched and soaked in sweat, and just it looked like it was really hot in Italy to the point where it affected maybe moves. So people had to slow things down or maybe some miscues. It did look, from what I saw, pretty warm yesterday in Italy. But what was your thoughts on the PLE? We're gonna play spoiler alert. So if you guys didn't watch Clash in Italy, pause this show, go watch it on ESPN Unlimited, and then come back to listen to the results. If not, the warning has been advised. We kick things off. Cody Rhodes defeated Gunther to retain the WWE Championship. Rhea Ripley defeated Jade Cargill to retain her Women's WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar defeats Oba in one-on-one competition. Sol Ruka defeats Becky Lynch to become the new Women's Intercontinental Championship champion. And then Roman Reigns defeating Jacob Fatu, winning in the tribal combat to retain his World Heavyweight Championship. So what do you want to get through first? Okay. I want to get through Soruka becoming the new women's intercontinental champion. I think I've only lost one match out of my predictions last week, so I feel pretty confident about myself. But how do you feel about Soruka becoming a champion? Is it too soon in her WWE main roster career that she's champion? Or is this actually what the WWE needs? Little vibrant, very hyper energetic person who could definitely move her way around the ring. I thought this was great. I wanted to see Soruka win the title. I feel like, honestly, the whole reason that Becky Lynch regained the title was part of that storyline at the beginning of the year. Now we're finding that right person who could take the title off of her. And Becky Lynch is one of those people. I am kind of excited because what it indicates me, and this is where I feel like this is why the IC title and the US title in the women's division always fits the bill of the younger talent. The talent that's looking to make a name for themselves, just like the male IC and US title. These titles are mid card matches. They are to, you know, if someone's waiting to get back into the main title picture, if someone is, you know, looking, you kind of get a look at somebody as a champion before you get called them up. And it's also with Soruka as champion, this is something a little bit new. The way that she carries herself, the energy that she has in the ring. And so I'm thrilled to see what Soruka has to come with this. Now, I felt in the match. I thought it was a good match. I felt towards the end of the match, they were struggling to set up the closing moments. And I understood what they were trying to do. I just felt like they were slowing things down so that they can make sure they hit it accordingly. Clash of Italy, you saw Cody Rhodes defeat Gunther via pinfall. And I was so mind boggled on the outcome of this match. I now understand and appreciate the narrative, and I want to see a lot more from this. But I was mind boggled to see that Gunther was pinned. Not only pinned, was the fact that he lost. And I wonder why the WWE decided that Cody Rhodes with the WWE Championship, it's still appropriate for this time. I had high hopes for Gunther, and a lot of things have pointed to Gunther becoming champion. There was no outside interference. It was a very quick match, if you ask me. And yes, I will defend Gunther. He had his foot under the ropes, and the referee did not see it. I expect more to be done and said with this feud. I expect more to be, this shouldn't be the last of them. To me, though, it just made sense that we saw Gunther become champion. And apparently we didn't. So we got to live another day to see Cody Rhodes and see who's going to take that title off of him. Brock Lesnar beats Obafemi. He evens the squad one apiece. And the one thing that I take away from this match, particularly, is that although Brock Lesnar won, he made Obafemi look good. Instantly before the bell even rang, four F5s to Obafemi, and he still kicked out. And they still proceed to have a brawl after four consecutive F5s. They had a nice moment outside the ring where Brock Lesnar F5'd Oba onto the announce table. The referee was counting, got halfway through his count, and then Oba quickly stands up like he was not phased. Tries some offensive move, but you know what? The F5 always prevails. And I want to say it was what, a total of seven F5s, and Brock Lesnar finally won. So we see there's been two matches between these guys, one apiece. You know, Oba's not done. You know, Brock is not, he's engaged to another fight. You could tell it in the ring. I love it. The fact that I love Brock Lesnar's facial expression through all of this. If that's one thing I take away for Brock Lesnar at the end of this feud, because I truly believe they are going to have themselves another match, possibly heading into SummerSlam. But if that's the case, I will take away that Brock Lesnar's facial expression has sold me on Obafemi. Not just what Oba's capable of doing in the ring, his physical being, his unfazed um, response back to Brock Lesnar's mayhem. Brock Lesnar had Oba in the Kamala lock for quite some time yesterday. And Oba just stands right up, holding on to Brock Lesnar and just his picture perfect face, plaster it on a TV and sell it. I'll buy one. But I feel like we get a part three, possibly already suggestions going to a retirement match at SummerSlam. I wouldn't mind it. Rhea Ripley defeating Jade Cargill. Charlotte Flair rushes to her aid, taking out B-Fab and Machine. Mishin, however you say her name, I apologize for butchering it. But then Roman Reigns defeats Jacob Fatu in tribal combat, not only to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, to me, I didn't care about the World Heavyweight Championship. I cared about tribal combat. I think I was more surprised, not so for the outcome of the match, because I feel like when in doubt, you rely on Roman Reigns. I was more surprised that there was no outside interference. The Usos didn't come out. Solo Sikoa didn't come out. Royce Keys didn't come out. And I feel as a fan, I'm that little child in The Incredibles on the tricycle, chewing my gum when Mr. Incredible comes home from work, slams his door, picks it up out of frustration. Mr. Incredible tells the child, "What are you looking at? What do you want?" And I'm that child. I'm like, I don't know, something amazing to happen, I guess. That's how I currently feel in this situation. I am sitting here waiting during this match. I don't know, something amazing to happen, I guess. And we get a typical one-on-one tribal combat match. And you know what? I had to sleep on this. I really did. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it when we didn't get anybody on the outside coming in. No interference, no distraction. Do I agree with the outcome? I truly believe that it would really shake the entire WWE universe if Jacob Fatu would have won. I feel like you could have gone a lot further in the story, in whatever's next of this chapter, if Jacob Fatu won. But Roman Reigns prevails. Doesn't he always prevail? So now I ask myself, well, what's next for Roman Reigns? Who's the next challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship? Roman Reigns threw out some names: LA Knight, Royce Keys. But let's make sure we do not forget to mention the little incident. I wouldn't even say incident, but the scene setting after the match as Roman Reigns and the Usos are walking back up the ramp. Jacob Fatu exits the ring, and on his right side in this crowd, you see the MFTs. And Solo Sikoa, for a moment, goes deadlocked eyes onto Jacob Fatu. So you ask yourself, maybe just for a brief moment, because there was a hesitation of Jacob following Roman. He ultimately, that's what happens. Jacob follows the Usos and Roman. But could you just help but wonder if the decisions are being regretted? At the end of the day, Roman Reigns is the better person, and we head into Raw. Now, Raw tonight is kind of interesting. Okay. We have a couple things ahead of us because of it. Now, it's a special start time, still on Netflix. We're following Clash of Italy, so we're still out there in Italy. Today, matter of fact, it will start at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. for those out there on the West Coast. It'll still be at the Inalpi Arena. It'll still be streaming on Netflix, so nothing changes. The big night tonight, advertises Jacob Fatu, who must address Roman Reigns after a tribal combat loss. Will he finally acknowledge Roman Reigns as his tribal chief? Jacob Fatu had 2 opportunities in the last month, came up close on one, and fell short on the other. However, there was some hesitation yesterday. Does that get cleared up here? Especially heading into Night of Champions next month. The big conversation is finally here as the WWE King and Queen of the Ring tournament officially begins. 4 major focuses on tonight's show is going to be around the tournament's matches. Solo Sikoa will be a part of the first round Fatal 4-Way match alongside Penta, Obafemi, and Carmelo Hayes. The winner would advance to the semifinals in the tournament, which begins its journey towards Night of Champions in Riyadh on June 27th. So mark your calendars. June 27th. The winner of the King and Queen tournament will have a chance at a championship of their choosing. On the women's side, we will see the women's world champion, Liv Morgan, entered herself into the tournament. She will compete against Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, and Chelsea Green tonight on Raw. Besides the tournament, matches, and bloodline drama, several notable names are advertised for this show. Seth Rollins are expected to appear along with the Usos. Fans could also expect the newly crowned Intercontinental Champion Sol Ruka to address the universe. And then the build-up tonight to the Night of Champions in Riyadh. So let's briefly, I'm going to pop it up here before we move on. Let me just look at the bracket. So the WWE has the King and Queen of the Ring bracket already up. It's on the WWE website. And as we mentioned, Penta, Obafemi, Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes is tonight. Let me just break down the rest of the matches here for the men's side real quick. Seth Rollins, Javon Evans, Talatonga and Ricky Saints in another fatal four-way match. Then we'll get Jey Uso, LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Finn Balor on another side. And then Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Trick Williams, and Damian Priest. As I look at this list and instant favorites, Oba's despite a loss, Oba's still dominant. I feel this is just me. If we are leading towards a Oba and Brock part 3, which I would like to see, could Oba go far in this tournament only to be sabotaged by Brock Lesnar, who is not just satisfied with evening the score, but wants to make sure that Oba knows that he's better than him, gets involved in some way, shape, or form and cost him the match. I personally wouldn't do it in this first fatal four-way tonight. I would have Oba win, if not win the semifinal match too, to lose at Night of Champions, which ultimately does two things. One, it would set Oba and Brock up for a SummerSlam match, which is following Night of Champions, right? Or very soon after. And two, it gives you two top-tier competitors that you would that Rhea would typically pay to watch somewhere in the match. I'm also thinking this would be a great opportunity for Braun Breaker. This would be a great opportunity for Royce Keys. Just imagine Oba Femi versus Royce Keys, right? Or in other words, one side of the bracket has Solo Sikoa. Maybe he could walk away victorious. On the other hand, you have Royce Keys, who, if he wins, and this is just painting the picture for me. So, please pardon my entertaining hypothetical fantasy here. Just imagine Talatonga winning his fatal four-way match, Royce Keys winning his. They meet each other in the semifinals. Royce Keys becomes victorious, and he goes on the side to face Solo Sikoa. I feel like that would be a great match right there. Plus, Roman Reigns mentioned Royce Keys in a possible championship match. Wouldn't that be Royce Keys versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam to save Jacob Fatu from being a part of this, the head of the table bloodline? Like I said, fantasies. On the women's side, we see Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, Bliss, and Green. Then we see Sol Ruka, we see Lyra Valkyria, Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill, Roxanne Perez, Io Sky, Julia, and Lash Legend. And then last but not least, we have Bayley, Raquel Rodriguez, Jason Jane, and Kiana James. So the Judgment Day has not one, not two, but three opportunities at winning the Night of Champions Queen of the Ring tournament. One thing that I took away with this that I'm not happy about, okay? I am not happy about it. It's the fact that we see the champions that are to be defended at SummerSlam against the winners of these tournaments or have entered in the tournament. I see Ruka, who just became the Intercontinental Champion. Liv Morgan, who is currently your Women's World Champion. Well, I don't see Rhea Ripley in there. I see Trick Williams, who is your Impenta, who are also mid-card champions. Damian Priest is a tag team champion. I'm not necessarily fond of that. Not fond of champions. No, doesn't matter what level you are. I'm not fond of champions being in this tournament. To me, this tournament is an opportunity for those who are not champions to have an opportunity to become a champion, right? Especially when the ultimate prize is a champion of their own. When I look at the women's bracket, can't help but take notice. One, we see Lash Legend, but we don't see Nia Jax. Two, I see Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair a similar in the same fatal four-way match, and they have been picking up some heat as of late since BFAB since BFAB Machine has been getting involved, took out Bliss. You see Flair out there causing mayhem. A dream match would possibly be a Jade Cargill versus a Charlotte Flair. Would you not agree? I am intrigued in the one that we see tonight with Morgan Lynch, Bliss, and Green. I like to see Kiana James and Julia make it, face each other in the semi round. Who do you guys have winning the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments? Let me know in the comments below. Trying to see if there's any updates here on Ellie Dela Cruz. Not going to AOL.com. What are you talking about? All right. I still haven't having any updates. What's going to end up happening? Um, so I'm going to get that official update once everything happens. All right. Uh, yeah, I'm not seeing any significant update on Ellie Dela Cruz's injury. So we'll have to get back to that. All right, over the weekend, we saw the Atlanta Braves come into town. And I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from the Reds. Um, the Braves are one, if not the best team in the National League, possibly in all of baseball. And they showed you just what. They are a team that makes little to no mistakes. And they are a team who, if you really want to put yourself to the test to see how good you are, you go up against the Braves and they will show you. And the Reds, look, when I think of good teams in the NL Central, I think of the Braves, the Dodgers, Milwaukee, and possibly the Padres, the Phillies. And this far, we're playing about 500 against those top five teams that instantly come to mind about being a best team in baseball. Right? We took the series in Philadelphia back in the middle of May, and then we lost the series to Atlanta. We lost on Friday 8-3. We lost on Saturday 5-2, and we won on Sunday 6-4. Nick Lodolo had a really good outing yet again in the victory yesterday. He went 6 2/3 of an inning, giving up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He only allowed 2 home runs. And the ball was flying. Home runs were flying. Suarez hit his 4th home run yesterday. Blade went back on Friday and Saturday, hitting his 9th overall. Nathaniel Lowe hit a home run on Friday night as well. But just as much as we could hit home runs, let's look at the home runs that were hit by the Braves. On Saturday, we had a total of one home run by Atlanta. On Saturday, we had a total of 4 home runs. And then on Sunday, we had another 2. The Braves had hit a total. That's 5 plus 2. That's 7 home runs to our 4 home runs. So you also put in comparison notes that I took. The Braves had 17 runs on 17 runs on 27 hits, while the Reds had 11 runs on 25 hits. I'll tell you this. a clear indication of what a good team is going to have. And I heard this on the Locked On Reds podcast that kind of gave me the inspiration to think of this. They are right. Is that a good team, a winning team that's going to easily win the division, easily contend in a wild card? What do they have going for them? The run differential. Prior to this series, the Reds were negative 26 in run differentials. And that's not a good thing, in my opinion. Let's also face it, our bullpen can't seem to catch a break. Graham Ashcraft before the series went down. He's on a UCL sprain. Pierce Johnson went out on Saturday with a right elbow inflammation. And yesterday, we saw Ellie Dela Cruz clenching his hamstring, and we're still waiting for MRI to pend. Back on Saturday, Pierce Johnson was placed on a 15-day IL. He expected to report, hopefully, back to some sort of back to the organization with like the next mid-June, hopefully. An MRI showed no serious damage, and Johnson received a cortisone injection on Saturday. Pagan is still out until June or July. An MRI on May 29th showed 50-60% healing, which was considered positive, was clear run for anti-gravity treadmill. Okay. Jose Trevino, who's been out since May 17th, has unknown about his return. Second MRI was done on Friday as well. Trevino to pick up more baseball activities in the weeks to come. We still see Brandon Williamson out. Returned to Cincinnati on May 29th to get examined and was cleared to begin throwing program, so we expect him down in the minors. And Graham Ashcraft, who was placed on the 60-day IL back on Friday, more likely may not see him until the end, if not the, probably won't see him the rest of the season. But diagnosed with a sprain of, but will get a second opinion, was prescribed a PRP injection, which would happen on June 2nd if the first diagnosis was confirmed. So it's just injuries after injuries after injuries. And I'll tell you that it's no fun dealing with them because, we're kind of running out of options in the bullpen. Okay. UNL Marte, who got called up. All right. He pitched on Friday. Went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. But the ball game was very close. Matter of fact, I think it was like 3-3 before Marte came in, giving up those runs. We ended up losing on Friday night. And so you look at the hindsight of this Reds team, we put up the runs. We're having a lot better pitching out of our rotation. It's our bullpen that's really eating us alive. And if we can't figure that out, if we can't start calling somebody to make some sort of deals, if we can't start, people ain't coming back healthy anytime soon, what are we going to do in our bullpen? Because based off of our productivity, we are playoff contenders. We can get to the playoffs with what we have, despite what our bullpen has to offer. So it's going to be, we're turning our attention in the month of June back to the front office, back to Nick Kroll, and see what he's capable of pulling through between now and the trade deadline so that we can help improve our bullpen to give us a best chance. The other thing on Ellie Dela Cruz's injury is that, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here, but I'm pretty upset with it. And here's the reason why. Ellie Dela Cruz has not had a day off other than travel days thus far this season. Terry Francona mentioned back at the beginning of the season that he was going to work on implementing Ellie Dela Cruz's days off a little bit more often. Kind of balance that out. And I get it. We are not in a position where we can afford to have Ellie Dela Cruz be placed on the bench right now. And it sucks that he's dealing with this hamstring because it looks like we're not going to see him for at least this series against Kansas City. But what's frustrating about this is that if we look back into 2026 and something we'll have to wait to see in October and November, could this be one of several reasons why the Reds don't make it to the playoffs? Because Terry Francona did not live up to what he stated at the beginning of the season. I'm not trying to sit here and bash Terry Francona, but I'm holding you to your word here. So now we're forced to give him days off. Now he may be out for a length of time, maybe because he played every game. And I get, look, I appreciate Ellie Dela Cruz. He's a workhorse when it comes down to this sport. He wants to be out there on the field every inning, every at bat, and I appreciate that. But it's short-term pain for long-term game. If we find a series where he could sit out on a day off or a day before a day off and then bounce back in, especially if we already won the series or whatnot, that helps prevent injuries like this. But I don't know. I'm just a 31-year-old person trying to talk sports to you guys. The Braves off today head back to Truist Park in Atlanta, Georgia for a 3-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. The Reds won't meet the Braves until the end of the season, as they will go out to Truist Park September 20th, 23rd, and 24th. As we get ready for this upcoming series with the Kansas City Royals, let's get you some insights about Kansas City. Kansas City Royals are 22-37. They are on a 6-game losing streak, as they are 2-8 over the last 10 games. They are 7-20 on the road, and they are coming off of a 3-game sweep over the Texas Rangers on the road. They lost Friday 9-1, lost Saturday 7-6. They also lost Sunday 6-3. They also got swept by the New York Yankees earlier this week. The Royals are in 4th place of the AL Central. Tonight, 7:10, first pitch, available on Reds TV, Fox 19, or listen to it on WLW. The Royals, 22-37, 4th in the AL Central, will go up against the 30-28 Reds, 5th in the NL Central. The Royals will have right-handed pitcher Lunder Avila, who's 0-2 and a 5.06 ERA on the mound for tonight's ball game. He last pitched back on the 26th, which was Tuesday. And he took on the Yankees, where he went 3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. The Reds will have right-handed pitcher Chase Burns, who's 7-1 with a 1.96. Our best pitcher in our rotation today. Tomorrow's game will also be at 7:10. You can celebrate the Reds on Lou Gehrig Day and wrap up this 3-game series on Senior Day. Wednesday's night game is at night. First pitch at 7:10 p.m. In the NL Central, the Milwaukee Brewers are 35-21. They are in first place, 4.5 games above this 31-26 St. Louis Cardinals. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 32-28, 5 games back. 32-28 Chicago Cubs are also 5 games back. And the Reds are 30-28, 6 games back of the NL Central. The Reds are 6-4 over the last 10 games and 15-14 at home. After this 3-game road series, the Kansas City Royals will head out to Minnesota to begin a 4-game series against the Twins for this weekend. Taking a look at the NL Central over the weekend, the Pittsburgh Pirates hosted the Minnesota Twins on Friday. They won 6-5. O'Neal Cruz hit his 12th home run of the season, with Brian Reynolds hitting his 8th. On Saturday, the Twins lose to the Pirates, a high-scoring game. Final score was 10-9. And on Sunday, the Pirates put up 9 runs to the Twins' 3 runs, sweeping the Twins over the weekend. The Cubs and Cardinals had a showdown. Cardinals took game 1 6-5. Then the Cubs came back and took game 2 6-1. Cardinals won the rubber game series 5-1, winning the series 2 out of 3. And on Sunday, and then last but not least, the Milwaukee Brewers went over to Houston to take on the Astros. They beat the Astros 5-4 in 10 innings on Friday. They all lost to the Astros 9-2 on Sunday, and then they beat the Astros, taking the series win 2-0 on Sunday. Tonight, we have two games headed your way out of the NL Central on top of the Royals and the Reds. The Giants will head out to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. The Giants are 23-36. They will send out right-handed pitcher Landon Roop, who's 5-5 with a 3.30 ERA. The Brewers, who are 35-21, will send out left-handed pitcher Shane Doran, who's 2-1 with a 2.63 ERA. This is game one of a 4-game series beginning tonight at 7:15. The Rangers will head over to Busch Stadium to take on the Cardinals in a 3-game set. The Rangers are 28-31. Right-handed pitcher Jacob deGrom will be on the mound for the Rangers. He's 3-4 with a 3.77 ERA. The Cardinals are entering in this game with a 31-26 record. They'll send out right-handed pitcher Michael McGreevy. He's 3-4 with a 3.98 ERA. It's game one of a 3-game series beginning tonight at 7:15. The Cubs and Pirates are on the off day today as Chicago heads back to Wrigley Field before a 3-game set against the Athletics beginning tomorrow, while the Pirates are out on the road. I got to check that out because I have them both facing the Athletics, and I know that's not true. Let me just check that. I apologize, you guys. So, tomorrow, the Athletics are in Chicago to take on the Cubs, while the Pirates are headed out to Houston to take on the Athletics. Both games are a 3-game set. You can check out more information at MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Let's take a look at down on the farm here as our minor league system has been underway in full swing. Over this past week, the Louisville Bats hosted St. Paul Saints, the AAA affiliate to the Minnesota Twins. And the Bats only took 2 out of 6 in the series. Bats are now 30-26. They are 4-6 over the last 10 games, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. They're currently 4th in the International League West Division. Coming up tomorrow on a 6-game set, they'll prepare on the road to take on the Memphis Redbirds. The Redbirds are 35-22. They are 7-3 over the last 10 games on a 2-game winning streak. They are in first place in the International League West. They're coming off of a 5 out of 6 victory wins over on the road against the Omaha Storm Chasers just last week. The Redbirds are 14-10 at home, while the Bats are 14-9 on the road. In AA, the Chattanooga Lookouts Chattanooga Lookouts took 2 out of 6 at home against the Knoxville Smokies, the AA affiliation of the Chicago Cubs. The Lookouts are 27-24. They are 3-7 over the last 10 games on a 3-game losing streak. Lookouts are at first place of the Southern League North Division, and they await as they actually head back out on the road to take on the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. The Wahoos are 26-25. They are 5-5 over the last 10 with the 1-game losing streak. They are in third place of the Southern League South Division, and they just split the series 3 apiece against the Birmingham Barons on the road. The Wahoos are 14-12 at home, while the Lookouts are 17-10 on the road. The Wahoos are the AA affiliate to the Miami Marlins. The Memphis Redbirds, by the way, are the AAA affiliates to the Cardinals. And the Dayton Dragons, who are coming off of a 4 out of 6 win series at home against the Great Lakes Loons. They are 29-22, 5-5 over the last 10, and on a 2-game winning streak. They're in second place of the Midwest League East Division. The Loons are the High A Division, High A affiliates to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Beginning tomorrow, a 6-game series set between the Dragons on the road against the West Michigan Whitecaps. Whitecaps are 16-35. They are 2-10 over the last 10 games on a 5-game losing streak, and they're in 6th in the Midwest League East. They took 2 out of 6 on the road against Lansing Lugnuts last week. The Whitecaps are 5-19 at home, while the Dragons are 16-11. And the Whitecaps are the High A affiliates to the Detroit Tigers. That is what's going on down on the farm. Alrighty. Well, Cincinnati Bearcats headed out, had a NCAA baseball tournament final out there in Starksville, I believe. I'm going to scroll down to it. You get all the D1 Division One baseball tournament infos by visiting NCAA.com. Starksville tournament over the weekend, we saw Cincinnati who beat Louisiana 12-2 on Friday. Ended up losing to Mississippi State on Saturday. They lost 10-5. And then on Sunday, we saw Cincinnati lose to Louisiana 8-6. So in the first round, it was a double elimination. You had 4 games. The losers of those 4 games play in the elimination game. So Linscomb and Louisiana was played in game 3, where Louisiana won 10-4. The winners of game 1 and game 2 advanced to game 4, where they played each other on Saturday night, where Mississippi State came out on top 10-5. The losers went down to take on the winner of game 3, which was Louisiana. So Louisiana beat Cincinnati 8-6, and now both of them face each other. And it was a best out of series. So Mississippi came into the final game on Sunday with a 2-0 record. If they lost to Louisiana, they would have had a game 1 today. But because they beat 19-5, they beat Louisiana. They became the regional champions in Starksville Regional. Congratulations to them. They also advanced to the next round. Any other games? Let me just see. I'm gonna scroll through real quick if I can, and just see who else advances. So Alabama's advanced. We also see, I think we have a game 7 here in the Tallahassee region. We'll get to that in a moment. Mississippi State advances. We have a West Virginia, who beat Kentucky 11-9, now pushed to game 7. Let's see if that stays. Nothing staged for that. So then we have that will be game 7 tonight. Cal Poly advances. Ole Miss advances. Kansas advances. Little Rock advances. Game 7 between Troy and Florida, as Troy beat Florida 16-11. Oregon advances. Then we have a game 7 between South Carolina, California, who beat Texas A&M 14-3. And then North Carolina advances. Texas advances. Game 7 between Auburn and Milwaukee, as Auburn beat Milwaukee 8-1. Game 7 between Oklahoma and Georgia Tech, as Oklahoma won 15-8. And then Georgia won their regional round. So those are this kind of the brief rundown here. We're still waiting on a handful of games, as either Texas or Oregon's going to advance in the tournament. We also have Georgia and Mississippi State. Well, we know those 2 matchups, so we're still waiting for Auburn and Milwaukee. The winner of that will take on Ole Miss. The winner of Texas A&M and USC will take on UNC. Then we have the winners of Florida and Troy taking on Little Rock. The winners of St. John and Florida State taking on Alabama. The winners of Oklahoma and Georgia taking on Texas. And the winners of Kentucky and West Virginia will take on Cal Poly. Now, this coming up weekend is going to be a best out of 3 series. So you win 2, you would advance. That is your NCAA college baseball tournament. For more information, check out NCAA football or basketball.com. In the NBA, on the NBA finals are finally here, as we will see as the San Antonio Spurs beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 111 to 103. They will go on, and they won the series 4 out of 3. They will go on to take on the New York Knicks. The game begins Wednesday, June 3rd at 8:30 p.m. Available on ABC. On Friday, you saw the Hurricanes beat the Canadiens. The final score 6-1. They won the series 4-1. And now they'll go on to take on the Golden Knights at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, June 2nd, available on ABC. So the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup playoffs are finally here. You can check them all out here on ABC. Couple extra baseball notes I'd like to share with you guys this afternoon, if possible. Let me get to my notes or somewhere around here. Trust me. There we go. All right, talking about the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. makes a certain list as a player with 5+ home runs, 4 stolen bases, and a 4-game span since the modern day stolen base rule adopted back in 1898. This list is associated with the 2026 Ronald Acuna, 2024 Shohei Ohtani, the 1987 Eric Davis, and the 1958 Willie Mays. Acuna also has 4 walks in this span, the most of any on this list. Back on Sunday, the Yankees also added to their historical rate as they become the first 12 batters that they reach base to start a historical third inning 13-run frame featuring 18 batters. In the third inning between the Athletics and the Yankees put 12 batters to start off with, all reaching base, and that also assisted in the innings. 11 hits, 4 walks, took 42 plus minutes, the highest scoring inning by MLB team in more than a calendar year. Yankees put up 8 hits, 4 walks, 10 runs before the first out made by Paul Goldschmidt, for the second most scored by a team before recording an out since the expansion era back in 1961. According to Elias Sports Bureau, back in 2009, the Red Sox did that, as well as the 1986 Royals. The Yankees' highest scoring frame since a 13-run 8th inning back on June 21st, 2005 against the Rays. The franchise record was held back in the 14th run in the 5th inning back in July 6th of 1920. It was against Washington. This was when Babe Ruth, who drew an intentional walk and had a 2-run single. Gosh, a lot of great stuff there. Also, in Angels baseball on Saturday against the Rays, 3 players were ejected prior to the game as the Angels beat the Rays 14-3 at Tropicana Field. Right-handed reliever Brent Suter, who pitched the night before, more than likely was not going to get insert the game on Saturday. And then rehabbing pitcher Steven Wilson and Manuel Rodriguez were ejected by third base umpire Lance Barrett due to the fun tradition of the National League anthem standoff. What about that? That was crazy. No. And that is kind of your sports updates and news coming into a Monday. All right, the last thing I wanted to get into was an article I read over the weekend. It illustrated the frustration of players and coaches who were not pleased about the 2026 NFL international schedule, specifically in Kyle Shanahan. Okay. Kyle Shanahan was visibly frustrated with the 49ers' 2026 international schedule, particularly within their Week 1 season opener against the Los Angeles Rams in Melbourne, Australia. Shanahan's main complaint centered around the competitive disadvantage, extensive travel, and lost recovery time for his players. The Rams' involvement, Shanahan stated that he knows for a fact that the Rams specifically required the 49ers to be their opponent for the historical down under game, taking away one of San Francisco's closed divisional matchups. Lost recovery time. Opening the season in Australia on Thursday night, U.S. time, cuts into the 49ers' standard end of preseason, 3 bonus practices, and 4 mandatory off days. Record travel. The 49ers will travel roughly 38,000 miles in 2026, making the NFL single season record. Shanahan noted that they have traveled to Australia 9 days early just to adjust to the 14-hour time difference. Multiple international games. San Francisco 49ers is one of 2 teams playing multiple international games as they also host Week 11 matchup against the Vikings in Mexico City. Despite the venting, Shanahan acknowledged that after the initial period of frustration, the mindset shifted straight into the game preparation and making the best of circumstances. So it really drew my attention that Kyle Shanahan was complaining about the first game of the season. First game of the season for them is against the Rams in Australia. It's a Thursday night football. So instead of Thursday night football being the first game, the Seahawks and the Patriots will play the day before, opening this game up. And one of the reasons why we do that is because the initial game in Australia, if you went to Australia to watch this game, it would be taking place on Friday morning at around 10:30 in the morning. Okay, time difference. So Kyle Shanahan is upset about that. Well, I look into it and I'm like, first of all, this is the first game of the season. He says that it's because of that they would have to cut their mandated days off, cut their practice days so they don't get the full advantage of the preseason. When I look at it, I'm like, well, doesn't the Rams have the same situation? Right? Are they facing 3 games? They're in still at home on game 3, and then they have to do the same thing. Second thing is, so you look at the 49ers schedule. They got the Titans, they have the Chargers, and then they got the Raiders. And they're on the road to in Las Vegas before heading this game. Following this Australia game, you get not 1, not 2, but 3 home games against the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Broncos. You got 3 more weeks before your first bye, and then you go to your home against the Raiders. You're on the road against the Cowboys before you head out to Mexico, which you could probably head out from that date, November 15th, after the game, instead of coming home, where you could adjust to Mexico before coming back home afterward. The problem I see with this is that there are teams. The only other team that they mentioned in the international schedule is the Jaguars, who play back-to-back weeks in London. Now, I haven't looked exclusively to the international every team that has an international game, where it falls under. Does it benefit them? Do they have that struggle? But from my understanding, Australia is the furthest location away from the US. They have to make the ultimate adjustment. I don't care if you are lost a day or two. It's not like the Rams have a special treatment. It's not like they get to be down there a month early. It's not like you have a disadvantage against your opponent. I would understand if there was a disadvantage where you had to play 7 weeks and then you got to go out there. There's some of these teams that has to go out to London and to France, and they don't have a bye week before or after. I found it very disturbing to listen to Kyle Shanahan express his frustration. I'm not saying he's not valid, but it's frustrating itself as a fan base, because if I'm a player person down in Australia and I'm listening to someone who is frustrated about wanting to come over to our country because it affects their personal schedule, I'm not going to want to listen to that. I will automatically root for the Rams, despite how much I would hate the Rams in this scenario, because Kyle Shanahan specifically says or elaborates his frustration how it is so inconvenient for him. I bet you anything, if the 49ers do not make the playoffs this season, if the 49ers do not go out there and go to the, Super Bowl this year, Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers are going to say, you know what, that's all because we go out to Australia. That's all because all that stuff is out there. Man, bunch of baloney. Fire up against my skin. Well, I'll have to look into the disadvantages. And you know what? You're right. 49ers have a disadvantage. They got to begin the season off in a different country. Well, guess what? Mexico, the Chargers and Chiefs had to do it last year in Mexico. I mean, NFL's trying to reach out to more teams. I just don't. That is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Raw coming up your way at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll come back, talk more Reds, Bengals football, all that fun stuff tomorrow. Please like us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can also download this podcast. Take us with you on the road, wherever you go, wherever you get your listening to service at the TNC Sports Talk. But that is it. That's all the time I have for you guys today. Until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the nice weather. You guys take care. We'll see you tomorrow.